Hi again. Hi again, everyone. So nice of you to join me tonight to make this wire wrap heart pendant. Just my camera a little. Let's see. I hope everyone can hear me just fine. Let me know in the comment if there's any problem with the sound system, and I will try to fix it. So how is everyone doing tonight? Hey, I see two people are just joining us tonight. Okay, cool. Techie Sue Ross say, I can hear you just fine. Linda say, hello from Asheville. Awesome. I hope you guys are doing great tonight because we're gonna learn something awesome. This is what we're going to learn to make tonight. Still on the Valentine's Day run because it's near Valentine's Day and everyone is looking to make a new stuff for Valentine's jewelry. So I'm here to try to inspire you to make something Valentine-y. What is more Valentine than a heart, right? Hi Shay. I hope I said it right, Shay. Well, I feel like wire wrapping is such an organic process. You can plan your designs, but it always kind of takes to a new turn, at least for me. For you who is new to this channel, my name is Charisma Summers of Popnicute Jewelry. I'm the dream visualist of Popnicute Jewelry. And I am on a mission to stop my channel from being downgraded by YouTube. That's why I'm doing this live video every day for around a month. And can you believe it? We're on day 7 of the live video. I can't believe it myself. Like, if you asked me a week ago if I would do something like this, I would probably say no. But I'm enjoying it now, and dare I say that I'm looking forward to it. But it's a lot of prepping and everything. So I hope you enjoy the video live with me and chatting with me. And if you have any questions, just type it in the chat, and once in a while I will look in the chat and see if I can answer your questions. For beginners in wire wrapping, I encourage you to get acquainted with your wire, get to know your wire better, how each gauge feels like on your hands, like its stiffness, its softness, and work them to your advantage. See, when I opened my YouTube channel, it was not my intention to teach you how to make my designs. I don't want you to be my copycat, but instead, let's learn together with me, learn my thought process, so you can eventually find your own style and your own voice. See, I'm a firm believer that learning the basics will bring you far. Be curious, ask questions, think of why and try to understand the underlying problems. Get to the bottom of it and enjoy the process, and someday you will emerge to this beautiful butterfly. Um, like just want to ask, how many of you have seen jewelry shops in Etsy that looks like just like a mash of projects from jewelry tutorials from various teachers? I know you've probably seen a few of them. There's nothing wrong with copying. That's how we all learn. But it is wrong if you're copying with the intention to sell other people's design. So that's why I created this YouTube channel, is for you to follow my thought process, like how I what is the word lost. See how I solve a problem. That's what I'm looking to to say, and such. So that's why you will rarely find a tutorial of mine that is like teaching you a finished design, like from start to finish. So I love teaching techniques, so you can use the techniques on your own designs. And see, like we'll talk a little bit about my background. Like when I was in elementary school, like I had this drawing teacher that came to our house like weekly to teach me and my sister how to draw. Like my parents weren't rich or anything, but we were in Indonesia, so like having like private teacher was not really that expensive, unlike in the US. So I was like, me and my sister and I were studying under him for a few years in our elementary years, and he had a personal decorative drawing style that he taught to his students. Like a lot of his students like won local, national, even international competitions, like drawing competitions, like including me. But you can definitely tell if someone was his student, because like they all had the same drawing decorative style that he taught. So because like so we all drew the same way, like the way we draw the leaves or the way we draw the bushes. Like each of us might have like draw a little differently, because you know, like you can't really like draw like other people unless like you spend a lot of time with them. So we still have like our own little bit personal style, but you know, like just the way we draw leaves, the way we color the leaves, they're all the same. So it's like we became his sheeps or something like that. So that's why I don't really want to be that kind of teacher. I don't want you to think of how to design like Charisma if you like my design, or how to design like someone else if you like the design. But instead, I want you come to my classes thinking how to think like Charisma, or like say like what would Charisma do, you know, something like that, instead of how to design like me. So that's why I want you to learn my thought process, like how I process, like the way I curve the wire or something like that, and not doing it exactly like me. So that's why I want you to be like mindful. I want you to learn the basics and not, you know, learn how to make the same design. I hope that makes sense. So anyway, after all that, now we can start doing this heart pendant. So the basic frame actually was my design back in 2009, and now I improved it to add a little something of it. It was only like this frame with 2 stones, the original design that I sold a long time ago. Like when I see it now, it just look, wow, that was me. You know, we all start somewhere, right? So let's get started. Bonnie say, I agree with your philosophy in principle, but as an advanced beginner, I still need projects that greatly expand on the basics with a project that I can have immediate success at. Yes, that's why I'm saying that it's okay to copy when you, with the intention to learn, because that's how we all start, right? That's how we all learn. Like if we have something to follow and then like we encounter a problem, then we know like, oh, right, this is how I should do it to like solve that problem. That's fine, but I'm just saying that that it is generally not okay to sell someone else's design and trying to pass it on as yours. So that's what I'm encourage you to not do, because you know, like copyright law and blah blah blah. So let's dive into making this design. I have the material list on the description if you wanna follow, play along with me. We need 12 gauge round wire, about 30 centimeters. I already annealed mine because this is like a hard, this is a dead soft wire, but because it's 12 gauge, which is really quite thick, I like to anneal it first so I can make, you know, curves better and not really forcing my tools to work super hard, because I have broken one of my pliers before because I work on a wire that is too hard for my pliers, so like the tip broke. So that's why I like you to like be mindful with your get to know your wire and the characteristic, so you know in the future like oh, I need to anneal it, or I can work it straight from the spool, you know, something like that. For 12 gauge, I generally, if I want to make like tighter curls, I like to anneal it first. And then we're gonna use one 20 centimeters 16 gauge, and then two 20 centimeters 18 gauge, and then 24 gauge, about 30 centimeters or 12 inches, and another one is 26 gauge, about 30 to 60 centimeters. I mean, like it depends on, because we're using it for wrapping, it's hard to say the exact amount that you will use, so I'm gonna say it's between 30 to 60. It depends on how tight or how far you like want to wrap it. And I've said it, if you watch my previous videos, I hope you watch my previous one. We made this heart yesterday, the puffy heart. And I'm gonna say again, I like using this steel ruler that has the numbers, the number 1 for inches and centimeters start from the same end. Because I know a lot of steel rulers in the market, the number 1 for each measurement unit start on the opposite end, which doesn't make sense to me. Because why? Because like if it start from the same end, then you can switch between inches and centimeters or convert your measurement really easy. So like 5 centimeters would be around 2 inches, something like that. So this is this kind of ruler that I would like you to use. Well, I would suggest anyway. That's what I find really convenient for me. And also it's super convenient for me if I need to cut my wire shorter or to size, so I can just like make it, if I want to cut it to 5 centimeters or 2 inches, I can just line my wire and then I can like snip it off just right on top right here, and that is your the exact length. That's why I like the ruler that start from the top and doesn't have any extra border. I know some steel ruler had like extra, like a few millimeters on top of this, and I don't like using those kind of rulers. Let's say now this one is the 12 gauge. You cut it to 30 centimeters and I bend it. I annealed it first and then I bend it on the 5 inches right here. So it's on the 5-inch bend. I'm gonna put my camera down so you can see better when I'm working on my project. Okay. Now I want to make the end. I want to make the end like this, like pointy. So I'm going to make a diagonal cut with my plier here. Maybe I should like next to the camera so you're not seeing from the opposite side. Okay. So I cut diagonal on the other side of the bend on both sides. Like so. So and then I use my bail looping pliers to make a large curve, the short part first with this one. Focus camera. So I like to usually to like burnish my end, like the pinch from the flush cutter. I like to burnish it like this with my bail looping pliers, so it's like becomes smoother. So after it gets smooth, then I proceed to make that curl. Okay, now we have a big curl. You can adjust it with your hand if necessary, but now let's try moving to the long part. And we do the same, we burnish the pinch from the plier first to smooth it out. Okay, now it's smooth. Oops, was that outside the camera? Okay, now it's smooth. Now we do similar bend, like the top first, and then we're gonna bring it like down to the middle. Okay, so now you have the base shape. Was that clear, guys? Let me know if it's if the instruction was clear or not in the chat. Hi Cindy. So you can, if you like this little like what is it, swoosh, I don't know, a little bend over here, that's fine. If you don't like it, you can just use your fingers to push it, and then like separate it from the bend, near the bend, so you don't like bend it again, like so. Now it's all straight. So you can use this as is, but because it's been annealed before, the wire is a little bit too soft for my liking to be a frame. So I want to hammer it, and when I hammer the wire, I want to add more interest to it, instead of just hammer it all around so it has the same width. I like my designs to have varying width, so it looks like more fluid and not just like a static design. You know what I'm talking about? So like on this part, like this, the part on the curve has wider line than the part over here. The same with this side, and that's what I like to do, because like the curves is where like I don't want the curves to change shape when people are wearing it. So I want to reinforce the curves by spreading it with my hammer. So that's why I like all. This is more like a personal preference. You can do whatever you want, but this is just what I think is good for my designs. Have a flare curves. So now let's do that. I like to use my planishing hammer. If you're new to my channel, I spoke in the other video that this is my preferred hammer to spread the wire, to spread metal, because it has a small face. So if your design is small, there is a good chance of you not hitting your finger. Well, like I know in the wire wrapping world, a lot of people suggest that you use a chasing hammer, which is not the right hammer for spreading metal, like this, hammering metal. Because a chasing hammer is used to strike tools and not directly metal. But I mean, it works, but a planishing hammer works better. It can, like, you can use whatever hammer you want, really, but this is just like from the convenience side. So like if you have a tight design, like if you want to hammer it, this small face let you hold your design a lot closer than this big hammer face. You know, you just can't hammer effectively with a big face like this. So now I'm going to demonstrate how I hammer my pieces. Let me get rid of these pliers first. So you might want to reduce the volume while I'm hammering. I'm not sure how loud it's gonna be at your end. And when you are hammering a lot, I suggest you to invest on this ear protection, because the ding ding ding, the loud ding 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 can eventually damage your eardrum. So you don't want that. You want to like good on hearing, like, you know, basically all your life. So invest on ear protection. It can be earplugs or something like this, basically just to reduce the high pitched ding 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 noise. And this one is just a Harbor Freight ear protection. It was pretty cheap. I think it was under $10, so it wasn't that expensive. And you can use it over and over again. Okay, I have my ear protection on, so I will try not to talk too much, but we'll see. So first, I want you to, when you're hammering, you want to hold, let me make it closer again. I want you to hold your piece together like this. Don't like hold it over here if you're hammering this one, because as you hammer, like the metal will spread and this will come apart. So if you want it to stay on the same general shape, you better hold it down like this, basically just so it doesn't come apart. I will show you that. Oh, one more thing, when you're holding a hammer, hold it like so. Right, so, and you work it from your wrist. You don't work it from your shoulder like that. And you make the hammer works for you, so you don't injure yourself, and see, like it works from your wrist like that, and not like so. Okay, we're not blacksmithing here. We are this is just such a small thing. You don't need the force from your shoulder. I mean, I'm not even sure if blacksmithing is suggested you to work from your shoulder, because it can injure the muscles on your shoulder. And you don't want to hammer like this as well, because eventually you will like hurt the muscles on your finger, and you don't want that to happen. So if you're hammering a lot, hold it like this. So controlled movement is the best for hammering. So you want to look on the area that you're hammering, much so like driving a bike. You know, you don't look on the hammer. Like when you're driving a bike, you don't look at your tire, so you look on your piece. So you can like it's like a teaching your brain, you know, hand and eye coordination type of thing. So, and this is what we've got so far. It's already flare up a little bit. You can stop right here, or if you want it to flare up a little more, you can keep continuing, but just be careful not to make it too thin, because when it is at that point when it's becoming too thin, then it can bend on this way. So we have to be really careful on that part. Also, how hard you hammer it can determine like how flat it's gonna be. So I like to have like a smooth transition between the part that I am not hammering to the part that I flare up. Is that the word? So when I am around the transform this line, the blend between the hammering and not hammering, I like to go really light around this part. So like I'm just kind of like making a smooth transition to the like widely spread part. I hope that makes sense. So now that part is done, let's move on to the next one. And we do the same. If you don't want this to change shape, you hold it down like so. And be careful not to hit your finger. That's why using the planishing hammer like this with the small face is really important when you work on a small piece like so you don't hit your finger. Well, like with this chasing hammer, it's like really easy to hit your finger because it's like so close together. I hope the camera show it well enough. You know, like there you go. So you don't want that. It's like with planishing hammer, you have a lot of a big place that separates your finger to your hammer. Okay, so now that is done as well, now I want to hammer this area, like the small curved part right here, to flare it up a bit, and then I will show you how to shape it better with a file. Okay, now we got it flattened up. All parts. Okay, there we go, folks. It's not exactly the same as this one, but that's just how wire wrapping is, because it's such an organic process that unless you have a template, you know, that you draw. Sometimes I like to do that. I will draw it on paper and try to follow it if I plan to make the design over and over again. But if it's something just one-off, I will just go by the feeling. And after we finished hammering to flare it up, now I want to use the nylon part. You can also use the steel face part, but just gently to help work harden the part that we don't want to flare up. But I'm just gonna use my nylon face part to help with that. Okay, so now all the wire is work hardened. You generally want to work harden everything and not just some parts, especially after you anneal it, because the meat between the soft and the hardened part can eventually break. That will be the weak point. So that's why you want to work harden everything, and that's where the nylon hammer is good, or like a rawhide hammer or a paper hammer is good for work hardening parts that you don't want to flatten. And before we wire wrap and joining the two meet point here, the two wire here, I want to sand it first. See, I like when my pieces are smooth. I don't like to leave them just as is after hammering. I want them to be smooth. So this is where sanding comes in. Like, I like to sand it like so. So basically going 90 degrees like that. That's for sanding it. Oh, if you want to texture it, you can texture it first, of course. Like for this one, I added like dimply texture. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera. Maybe if I turn off the light. There is some texture. I do like texture, so if you want to texture it first, you can use your ball peen hammer. This one is just my chasing hammer, and the back side is a ball. So that's what I'm gonna do. Like, I'll just gently texture it like so. No, there you have it. It's all ball texture. And oh yeah, I promised to show you how I filed my piece here so it can shape better. Even though you're prepared, sometimes like you always miss a thing or two. Let me turn this light again. You generally don't want something sharp on your jewelry. You know, you don't want to hurt your customer, so, or yourself if you wear your own jewelry. So I like to file the sharp point. The sharp point right there. If my camera can focus, yeah. With my barrette file. I think that's how you say it, right? Barrette. This one is a Swiss-made file, and I really like it. It's kind of expensive for what it is. Like it's like $20 something just for one file, but it's generally better than the hardware store, like the what is it? The Great. It just feels like it files smoother. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you don't have to invest on like a Swiss-made file, but eventually when you're at that place where you can invest more on your tools, you probably want to invest on a better file. So let me do this. And also, if you see the shape of your curve is less than desirable, you can also shape it with your file. You generally want to go just one direction, like away from you, instead of doing that kind of movement, because apparently this kind of movement can damage your file, because the cut side only go up to one side unless there's like the special file that goes both sides. Most files only go the cut side only go to one direction. Okay, it's kind of hard to file on camera because I'm not used to this. I have to be like in the frame all the time, so it's kind of awkward for me. But you want to use your finger to feel if it's still sharp. Try to file it further until you can feel that it is smooth. Generally, you want to have some kind of you want to rest your piece like on this rubber block here. That way you can have a better what is the word that I'm looking for? Better stability. Also, if you need to file vigorously, having a base is definitely much better, but sometimes I like to file on the air because, you know, because there is no base, I cannot go too far with my filing, so I don't accidentally file it down too much. So you have to just assess the situation, which method that is better for the thing that you want to do. Okay, I think we file it down enough. So now I want to sand this. Like this is, I like the sandpaper. I got this from Home Depot. It's like a plastic sandpaper, so it is much more durable than the regular sandpaper. But for regular sandpaper, where it's like paper backing, I like to cover the whole paper with duct tape or a piece of self-adhesive craft foam. Depends on what I need that time. And then I cut it to small pieces like this one. Well, this one is already it's made of plastic. I don't have to put duct tape on it because it's not gonna tear up. So that's how I sand my pieces. So basically by doing this, you make your work look much more professional and more finished. I guess that's the word, finished, more finished looking. It is a lot of work, you know, if you have to sand a lot, but it does look a lot better after you sand it. So now we want to move on to wire wrapping it. First we want to join these two pieces because you don't want it to come apart, right? So we're gonna use the 24 gauge for this because this is such a thick wire. Using like 26 or 28 would not make sense. You have to keep that in mind when you're working. There is no one size fits all. If the frame is thicker, you need to use thicker wire to join them and not, you know, just use like everything with like 28 gauge or 30 gauge. If you use like 16 or 18 gauge for the frame, then 26 or 24 gauge would be fine. But because this is such a thick wire, you want to use thicker wire to join them. Like for even thicker wire, I could see myself using 22 gauge to join the two parts together. But in this case, we're gonna use 24 gauge. So this is my 24 gauge. I'm going to I'm gonna start from the bottom. Gonna wrap. Hope I can show it better on camera. I think that's better. So I like to leave a little bit of tail, so you can hold it while you're working on it. Otherwise, it will just, you know, when you wrap it, it's gonna move around if you don't give like a little tail for you to hold on to. So it's gonna like you can see the wire moving just like that because this is a round wire, so you cannot anchor it with so you have to leave a little bit of tail like so, and then you continue wrapping it. So I want to use a crisscrossing wrapping here. Focus camera. So after I'm wrapping, I'm working, put it at the behind on the second wire, and goes like so. Round it 2 times. I hope that's clear. And then go to the opposite side and wrap it 2 times. and then goes from behind again to on the opposite side and wrap it 2 times again, and then goes behind the top part and wrap it 2 times, and basically do that couple of times, and then we're gonna continue on. This is gonna be the last one. Is it clear on your end? Let me know if I need to move my camera or something so you can see better, because I'm not sure if you can see it, because I can only see so much from my preview here. So now what we're gonna do with this tail over here, I am going to I don't know if you can see it. Hope you can. I'm gonna put this under the first one. You kind of have to look. Hope you can see it. Basically, what I'm doing is I want to stabilize this, because it can move still, right? So I want to stabilize it. I go from the back, like so, and then so after you've got this part, you move to the back, and then you kind of have to go to the third. I'm trying to show it. Going from the back to the third wrap here, and just pull it. Okay, so now you go back to the first one, you might have to use your pliers. Sometimes it's a little bit hard if your wire if you're wrapping it too tight. So now we got this cool stitching look to it. Goes around in the middle. And then you want to do it one more time, going to the third one. And it's blurry. So pull it. So now you have like 3 stitches right in the middle. The back side look like this. So you kind of want to see the back sometimes, because it can go to the opposite side, and you won't get a nice what is that, kind of like embroidery look to it. So you have to be a little mindful of the back too, the back side too. So now with the tail, we're just gonna go to the opposite side of the one where we started the wrapping, so we can mimic that wrapping. Man, why is it like blurry? Okay, I removed the distraction, so hopefully you can see it better. So I'm gonna wrap it around like 4 or 5 times. I want to make sure like this one has, I want to make sure both sides has the same wrapping number. Okay, the left side I only had enough to make like 4 wraps. So I'm gonna do 4 wraps on the other side too. Kind of snip it off. And I like to use this little bent nose pliers because it can reach hard to reach places like this, and to tuck your wire in. Okay, now we're done joining the middle, and now it's not as easily moving like it was before. The little stitches is becomes like a little like reinforcement. There you have it. Hi Miss Harleen, hi Jackie, hi Sally. Sally say, I just watched your puffy heart video, fabulous. Thank you Sally, I'm glad that you enjoy that video. Hope you can hope you got something new to learn from that video. So now we're moving on to making the decorative part here. So like I said, I'm going to teach you my thought process when I'm designing pieces like this, is that I love layers. So that's why I use different gauges of wire. So it has a more interesting dynamic looking result than if you just use one thickness. You know what I'm talking about? So the wrap here has both 16 and 18 gauge. And the way I layer it, I like to have just plain wire combined with the wrapping part. So that way you have like a little bit more interest look there, instead of if you just like do the wrapping. It can look a little busy. So this the plainer wire can break the busyness and add interest to your piece. So let's try to do the wrapping with 18 gauge first. This is 18 gauge. See, the way I do my pieces, I like to have the pointy ends like this. So most of them I will cut diagonally at the ends. So like so. And then I will take my needle nose pliers. You can see the top of my needle nose plier is a little bent. See, this is why you need to know the strength of your wire and the strength of your tools. Like, I wasn't being mindful enough when I used this, and I use a little too thick of a wire at the very tip, and the tip was not designed to bend. I think it was like 16 gauge wire, so it got a little bent here. So just because you bought like an expensive tool doesn't mean it's indestructible. You still need like to read the manual and believe the manual when it said like, oh, it can only you can only use it up to 20 gauge, for example. Don't try to use it on 16 gauge or you get uh, you know, like this. It's just a little bent, but you know, it's still usable. So I'm going to try to burnish the ends a little, like so, to remove the pinch. So we're gonna make a little curl. So you can use like you don't have to use the tip if you want like little, very little curl, like so. You can make it tighter by using like a flat nose or this one, this bent nose. Just push it gently. Oops, that wasn't gentle enough. And then you take your flat nose to make it easier to man, it's so small, my camera has a hard time focusing. There you go. And then you take this to, you know, make your curl. Careful when you're doing this, because I pinch my finger a lot of times because I'm doing this, but sometimes it's necessary. Maybe you want to use a finger guard. I don't know. Okay. So now we want to join this part, right? So I'm not gonna do the crisscrossing like this part, but I'm just gonna wrap it together. Let's just start from here. With a little bit of tail right here. It's gonna be a little bit harder because it's 18 gauge. This is 18 gauge dead soft, okay? So, you got two, and then you can like start joining these two parts together. Okay, now you want to close this. If you mark your wire with your tool, that's okay. You can always sand it smooth later. So we're gonna press it down like so it doesn't move around anymore. And like I said, I like a lot of texture and flowy design on my pieces. So I'm gonna make a turn right here. I'm trying to show it to you. Hopefully it shows on camera. Make a turn right here, like a full turn. Is it too bright? No, there you go. You can see I made a little turn, and you can double it like so, and then you can continue wrapping. Like a couple more times. Like so. So now I am going to add the second 18 gauge wire. So I'm gonna make the little curl like I did to the other wire. I'm gonna snip the diagonal. And I'm going to burnish it a little with my, trying to show it on camera too. Burnish it a little, and then I'm going to curl it. To make the curl a little tighter. Okay, that's good enough. And then I'm gonna join these two pieces by wrapping it with 26 gauge. So I put this loose piece next to it. Where's my 26 gauge? I think I lost it. It fell off somewhere. I'm gonna cut new one. I'm gonna have it around 60, start with 60 centimeters long or 2 feet long, just so we have enough. I like to start it with a little longer than I thought I would need. So I'm going to start wrapping a little couple wraps here, and like before I will leave a little tail so I can kind of anchor it with my hand, my finger, like so, and then I'm going to pair it. So we're going to hope you can see it. Like, this is the one that we have. Now we're going to join it at the bottom. Go twice over both Can you see it all right on there? Like twice, and then you go twice around at the bottom. Let me remove this stone out of my way. See if the camera would focus better. So you can see 2 full wraps and then just 2 wraps on the single wire. And then now you want to wrap it over the both wires again. And then twice on single wire, the bottom wire. Now you can see a pattern start forming there. Just 2 both wire and then like just 2 on single wire. And we will continue on, not forever, but you know, until near the end of the line. And now 2 on the single, and then back to 2 on the both wire. After you figure out the pattern, you can basically do this pretty quickly. And I think I should have put like a band-aid on my finger right here as a cushion, because I know tomorrow I will get blister from doing this without any protection on my finger. Doing wire wrapping can be so rough sometimes. You know what, when I was new in wire wrapping, I was obsessed with Isa Malsik. I think is that how you say her name. I'm sure many of you know her from the wire wrapping community. She makes absolutely beautiful pieces, and I bought a couple of her tutorials and start from there. And I would be obsessively going to her website and checking out every of her new design. And eventually I realized that if I want to create my own style, I cannot be heavily influenced by her. If I keep obsessing over her designs, then but then my mind would want to create my pieces to look like hers. So after I got into that realization, I stopped going to her website almost completely. I still check her like once in a while, but I stopped being obsessed with her and start trying to come up with my own designs that look nothing like hers, hopefully. So that's how, if you want to start in developing your own style, I would suggest you to stop obsessively looking at your favorite designers' designs, and just take the time to learn and just try to develop your own designs by experimenting a lot. I think after I divorced myself from her, and then I start I would say not design better, but something that lasts like hers. You know what I'm talking about? So we got a little bit of length here now. Maybe it's better if I turn on the thing. So we want to go like a wrap it around. Like you don't have to finish it first, but you want to check. Like I want it to go around from here, so that's what I'm going to do. Fixing the shape of this one right here. And I'm gonna snip off the little tail because I don't need it anymore. Oh yeah, when I wire wrap, I like to hide the tail here behind my pieces. So I don't like it to be exposed. So it cannot be undone when someone wearing it. If it's like on top, and then like it can snag on someone's shirt or hair or something like that. So I like to make sure that it will go behind or underneath the piece. So let's see, I'm going to snip it right here, and I will use my little bent nose here and try to hide this and so a little hard. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, now I want to tuck this a little flatter so it's not poking out. There you go. There you go. It's now flat and not poking out like before. So I need a little bit more of this wrapping. So this is how I wire wrap. I don't always finish my wrapping right away. I want to make sure that I got it to the length that I need by doing it step by step like this. Sally asked, when you use Argentium wire for projects like the puffy ring, do you use dead soft or have hard? I would just use dead soft because you're gonna fire it, so it will, even though you use like half hard or hard, because you fire it, it will get annealed. So I find no use of using anything other than dead soft. So we will continue this for a little bit more. Let's see if I have enough yet. Can also start to like shape it like so. I think we're just gonna use like the whole length of 60 centimeters here. Sally asked, what about the ring band? Same with the ring band, because you're gonna fire it, so it's gonna be annealed. So I would just, all of my wire, I bought them dead soft. I never buy anything else other than dead soft. So almost at the wire end. And just a couple more, and then we'll be done with this wrapping the two wires together. When it becomes too small to reach with my finger, I like to use the help of with pliers. Gonna snip it off at the back like I did previously with the other side, the other end, and then I'm gonna tuck it well. So now we're going to wrap it over and under. Like so. Hope that's clear enough. I have to check my design so I can like at least do it kind of similarly. Okay, I'm going to wrap this together around so they can be like kind of like a parallel. And then I'm going to make a spiral on this one, the short one. Like I always do, I snip off like a diagonal cut to the tip, and then I'm going to burnish it with my plier. And I make a little bit of, this time I'm gonna make it a little bigger spiral. Not so tight. No, like so, but I want it to be than just a spiral, so I want to tie the whole theme together with the flattened wire here. So I'm going to flatten this on my steel block with my flattenishing hammer. So I bring my steel block again, move all these pliers away. So I'm going to use my flattenishing hammer again. This is another example of the advantage of having a small rounded face like this one. Is so you can hammer on a tight place like this one. So let's show it on camera. That's what we got. So now I'm going to sand it again, both sides, because I want my pieces to look good from both sides and not, I don't want the back of my pieces to look rough when the front is smooth. So that's what I'm doing here. So now we got something like that. Before I tuck it, I want to make sure I finish with wrapping this the longer end here. I'm going to wrap it a couple of times, and then I'm going to add the little loop-to-loop like what I've done on the other side. Just that's a thing that I like to do, is tying everything together so it's not so it has some kind of creates a balance on both sides and a continuous flow of design. So now I'm going back here. I'm just going to wrap it a few times. Now I'm tucking this in so it's flat. But I don't want this, I generally don't like any loose ends that can get snagged. I want my pieces to be sturdy in any type of, hopefully people are not going to be rough with my jewelry, but something that customer can, not having to be so delicately with them. So I'm going to snip off some of this because it was too long for me. Same that I'm going to cut a diagonal cut to it, and then I'm going to loop it and burnish it first, and then I will make a tight curl. So when you cannot curl it anymore with your round nose, you can use your flat nose pliers to bring it in. So this part will basically lock the bigger curl underneath it. So like so, and now you want to kind of make sure that it is tucked in very well. So there we have it. Has this been clear for you guys? Let me know in the comment if any step of this was not clear enough. Let me see it show better without the light. Oops. So now this part is sturdy. It won't snag, it won't lift it, get lifted off. Like everything is sturdy. So now we're gonna use the 16 gauge wire, and we're gonna make the last one. This is the last one, and then we're done. Gonna start with this little curl here. So we're gonna do the same step like what we have previously done. Because this is such a heavier wire, 16 gauge, I like to use my sturdier plier instead of this one. This one has a really small tip, so I like to use my bill looping pliers for this one. We start with burnishing the ends first, and then we start to make the curl. So that's the curl. And now we're going to flatten it a little. And now we're going to sand it. Why we sand it now? It's because it's gonna be harder to sand once it's on the piece. So I prefer to sand it before I assemble it. Okay. So now we're gonna place it right here. On the side, like so, and we're gonna use 26 gauge to wrap it. So first I'm going to do my just a few wraps on this wire. And like always, leaving a little bit of tail so I can hold it while I'm working on it. So then you place it right here. And you want to join it with the base wire, the frame. So I'm gonna do the crisscrossing again, because like when there is like a bigger gap like this, I like to do the crisscrossing because it feels filling in the gap better than just like a straight wrap. So I'm gonna do 2 loops at the bottom here. Oops, I'm off camera. 2 loops like so. Cindy asks, what is the grid number on your 3M sanding tape? It's 150 grit. It is a little rough for most people, but I like rough because I like a little bit of rusticness to my pieces, so it doesn't really bother me if it's like 150. You can, that is the lowest that my Home Depot sell actually, so I'm not sure if it comes on the finer grit, but you could probably check online if they have the finer grit on that one. But I haven't checked, and that 150 worked for me, so that's what I use. Let's see, light or no light? Do you see better with the light on, with the lights on, or no light? Because I'm not super sure about that. So after the 2 wraps that we've done, oh oops, I was like going too far. I should not do this. Going back. Should go going up. Now we're going to wrap the top, going twice, and then it goes down. Okay, without light. Okay, let's see without light. You know, you want to go in wrapping the frame now. Go once, and then just slide it up for the second one. So I'm wrapping twice and then go down again. Now this is how you avoid kink. When you're reaching this like a little bit, you want to make sure that you always round this part that is like closer to the wrap. Because sometimes like if you're not being mindful on the area, it can kink. Like if you're working too fast, like pulling your wire too fast, it can definitely kink. So this goes up again. Just gonna do one more time. See, like how I adjust the wire every time it goes near the end. Okay. So now we're going to wrap it just on the top a few times. Make sure it goes tightly. And like before, I'm going to snip it off so the wire can go underneath. where it's hidden. Tuck it. And I'm gonna work on this tail right here. Make sure it's also well hidden. It's just easier when it's still loose, so you can like see the bottom. Okay, so now we're done with wrapping that part. We want to make this. We want to go over and basically like just follow the spiral pattern that we already made with the previous wire. So like so. See what I did there? So I'm just going over and following the spiral, not trying to go against it, so it can lay really nicely. See what the back looks like. See, so nothing is really all overlapping, so I'm just following. So now I don't want to go up here, but I want the design to stay at the bottom, like the sample here, right? So after after my design goes like over this part, over the wire wrap piece right here, I want to make that loop again. That loop to loop. So I'm just gonna go looping. Hopefully showing the camera here. Just looping it twice. It's kind of a little bit hard because it's a harder wire. I want to make sure that I hold it down while I'm looping the second time. So it's not going off rail. So now I want to make sure that it goes on the same spiral path as the rest of it. So I want to go okay, this one should go down here. It's a little bit hard because it's 16 gauge. But I'm not doing it right. See, sometimes I get confused by my own design. Okay, I think I know what I'm doing. Sorry, guys. Like I said, wire wrapping is such an organic thing. Sometimes it's hard to repeat the same process again. So I want to wrap it around here. Oops, off camera there. I got it behind the loop after I wrap it around, and then I want to go to this side to make sure I got the same following the same spiral. Going back to the center. So now we have this tail right here. So I want to make sure that it is like laying nicely right here. So I'm just gonna like create some kind of a loop right there. Another loop to loop. Like so, and then I'm gonna make the curl this one. So I'm gonna cut diagonal cut again at the end of my wire, and I'm gonna use my veil looping plier to smooth out the ends first, burnish the end. And then looping it. Turns out a little shorter than my original design. Maybe I should have had it like a 25 centimeters instead of 20. I thought I had it at 20 centimeters. But we're done here. So we can the only thing that we need to do is to hammer this. So I'm gonna open this a little like that and hammer it. I'm going to sand it again before I tuck it in. Just on both sides. And then I'm going to wrap this part so it's not loose. So I'm going to join it to the piece, the frame. And that would be the end of our session. So I'm going to use another 24 gauge because we're going to wrap it around the frame, and I want the wire to have the same weight as the top here, which is 24 gauge. So it has a continuous of design. If you have like a 24 and then like 26 underneath it, it's gonna look a little bit weird to me anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap the frame first, leaving a little bit of tail like usual to hold it down. Now I'm gonna join. I think I need to loop it a little bit more so it can look like continuous from the top of it, the top wrapping. Sometimes you need to like check often so you know where it ends. Okay, now I think I can move on to wrapping this part. See, when you're wire wrapping, sometimes you have to be flexible with your design, because like I said, that a lot of times it takes a new turn, doesn't always goes as planned. And you can, the good news about wire wrapping is you can always add something if you think it needs it. So you can stop right here, or if you think that, oh, this part needs a little bit of accent, you can add stones, or you can add more wrapping, or you like it as is, then you can use it as is. So that's why with my wire wrapping, I generally had a rough idea of what I wanted to do, but as I make it, it can turn into sometimes even something completely different, because the way I see it and the way I drew it on paper, it's not the same anymore because of the way the wire turns, or maybe I cut it a little too short, or maybe I cut it too long, maybe something could happen, maybe it broke right in the middle. So you have to be flexible and not to get upset when that happens, and just try to find a solution for your problem. So now I'm gonna snip it off on the back and make sure that it is tucked in really well. Make sure you press it down really well. And always do like a test right here. You can also do the fabric test. Make sure your wire is not snagging anything. Okay, so now we have it completed. It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of similar. So what do you think of it? Cindy asked, do you use or add beads to your wire work? Yeah, I do actually. A lot of times I add beads, just not on this one, because it's gonna make it a little too long, so I want to keep it, under 2 hours if possible. So if I add a little bit more than this, it's gonna, I don't know, stretch to 5 hours of video. Linda say, for your information, sometimes the project moves out of frame, but it's still able to follow. Yeah, it's kind of hard because I have the camera next to me, and the camera is not facing me, so I can't watch the little preview all the time. That's why sometimes it goes out of frame. So I try to be to remember that I'm on camera, and take a look at my little preview, LCD preview a lot. But sometimes things happen. And well, there you have it. Linda say, I'm loving this art. Thank you for sharing and teaching. You're welcome, Linda. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you learn something from it. Jackie say, great tutorial as usual, Wonder Woman. Someone actually suggested that I make a Wonder Woman kind of like headband. um, and have the project for like a few days. But I don't know, I look silly on headbands, so uh, I don't have. Who is that girl who plays Wonder Woman? Like, she has the face for a headband, but I don't. Well, now you can make your own Valentine's Day pendant. I hope you enjoy this process, and you can take some of my technique and use it on your own designs. If you have any questions, I can answer it. I can stay a little bit longer. Let me know. If you don't have any more questions, then I'm just gonna go off, and we continue tomorrow with making poppies. Do you want to make a little flower? It's so easy to make. It's probably gonna be a short tutorial, but my plan is we're making poppies tomorrow. What do you think of that? You just need a disc cutter if you have one, or you have like already cut discs. I usually use around 5/8 of an inch on my disc cutter, but you can have any size you want. It wouldn't matter. The material you need is like 24 gauge discs or sheet that you can cut, and then a dapping set, a dapping punch with the dapping, what is that called? Dapping block. There you go. Okay, Jackie say gotta go, but look forward for tomorrow. All right, Poppy, yahoo. Okay, well, I gotta go too. It's been 2 hours. Thank you for joining me in this live feed. If you enjoy my tutorial, please share it with other people, so we can accumulate the watch time, and people can also learn from my techniques as you are today, as you do today, I suppose. Well, that's about it. I'll see you tomorrow to make some poppies. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Mwah.